The horse Gullfaxi and the sword Gunnfoder. Many, many years ago there lived a king and queen who had one only son, called Sigurd. When the little boy was only 10 years old, the queen, his mother, fell ill and died, and the king, who loved her dearly, built a splendid monument to his wife's memory. And day after day he sat by it and bewailed his sad loss. One morning, as he sat by the grave, he noticed a richly dressed lady close to him. He asked her name, and she answered that it was Ingeborg, and seemed surprised to see the king there, all alone. Then he told her how he had lost his queen, and how he had come daily to weep for her in her grave. In return, the lady informed him that she had lately lost her husband, and suggested that they might both find comfort if they made friends. This pleased the king so much that he invited her to the palace, where they saw each other often, and after a time he married her. After the wedding was over, he soon regained his good spirits, and used to ride out hunting in the old days. But Sigurd, who was very fond of his stepmother, always stayed home with her. One evening Ingeborg said to Sigurd, "Tomorrow your father is going out hunting, and you must go with him." But Sigurd said he would much rather stay at home, and the next day when the king rode off, Sigurd refused to accompany him. The stepmother was very angry, but he would not listen, and at last she assured him that he would be very sorry for his disobedience, and in the future he had better do what he was told. After the hunting party had started, she hid Sigurd under her bed and bade him be sure to lie there until she called for him. Sigurd lay very still for a long while, and was just thinking it was no good staying there any more, when he felt the floor shake under him, as if there was an earthquake, and peeping out he saw a great giantess wading along ankle-deep through the ground and plowing it up as she walked. "Good morning, Sister Ingeborg," cried she as she entered the room. "Is Prince Sigurd at home?"
"No," said Ingeborg. "He rode off in the forest with his father this morning."
And she laid the table for her sister, and set food before her. After they had both done eating, the giantess said, "Thank you, sister, for your dinner. The best lamb, the best beer, and the best drink I've ever had. But is not Prince Sigurd at home?" Ingeborg again said no, and the giantess took leave of her, and she went away. When she was quite out of sight, Ingeborg told Sigurd to come out of the hiding place. The king returned home at night, but his wife told him nothing of what had happened. The next morning she again begged the prince to go out hunting with his father. Sigurd, however, replied as before, that he would much rather stay at home. So once more the king rode off alone. This time Ingeborg heard Sigurd under the table, and scolded him well for not doing what she bade him. For some time he lay quite still, when suddenly the floor began to shake, and the giantess came along, wading halfway to her knees through the ground. As she entered the house, as she had done first, "Well, Sister Ingeborg, is Prince Sigurd at home?"
"No," answered Ingeborg. "He rode off hunting with his father this morning."
And going to the cupboard, she laid the table for her sister. When they had finished their meal, the giantess rose again and said, "Thank you for all the nice dishes, for the best lamb, for the best beer, and the nicest drink I've ever had. But is Prince Sigurd really not at home?"
"No, certainly not,"
replied Ingeborg, and with that they took their leave of each other. When she was well out of sight, Sigurd crept from under the table, and the stepmother declared that it was most important that he should not stay at home the next day. But he said he did not see what harm could come of it, and he did not mean to go on hunting. And the next morning, when the king prepared to start, Ingeborg implored Sigurd to accompany his father. But it was no use at all. He was quite obstinate and would not listen to a word she said.
"You will have to hide me again," he said.
So no sooner had the king gone than Ingeborg hid Sigurd between the wall and the paneling, and by there was heard once more the sound like an earthquake, as a great giantess, wading knee-deep through the ground, came to the door. "Good day, Sister Ingeborg," she cried, in a voice like thunder. "Is Prince Sigurd at home?"
"Oh, no," answered Ingeborg. "He's enjoying himself out there with the forest. I expect he'll be quite dark before he comes back again."
"That's a lie!" shouted the giantess, and they squabbled about it till they were tired, after which Ingeborg laid the table, and when the giantess had been done eating, she said, "Well, I must thank you for these good things, for the best lamb, for the best beer, and the best drink I've had in a long time, but are you quite sure Prince Sigurd is not at home?"
"Quite," said Ingeborg. "I've already told you that he rode off with his father this morning to hunt in the forest."
At this the giantess roared out in a terrible voice, "If he is near enough to hear my words, I lay this spell on him. Let him be half scorched and half withered, and may he neither rest nor peace till he finds me." And with these words she stopped off. For a moment Ingeborg stood as if turned to stone. Then she fetched Sigurd from his hiding place, and to her horror there he was, half scorched and half withered.
"Now you see what has happened through your own obstinacy," she said. "But we must lose no time. Your father will be coming home."
Going quickly into the next room, she opened a chest and took out a ball of string and 3 gold rings, and gave them all to Sigurd, saying,
"If you throw this ball on the ground, it will roll along until it reaches some high cliffs. There you will see the giantess looking out over the rocks. She will call down to you and say, 'Ah, this is just what I wanted. Here is Prince Sigurd. He shall go into the pot tonight.' But don't be frightened by her. She will draw you up with a long boat hook, and you must greet her from me, and give her the smallest ring as a present. This will please her, and she will ask you to wrestle with her. When you are exhausted, she will offer you a horn to drink out of, and though she does not know it, the wine will make you so strong that you will easily be able to conquer her. After that, she will let you stay there all night. The same thing will happen with my other 2 sisters. Above all, remember this. Should my little dog come to you and lay his paws on you, with tears running down his face, then hurry home. My life is in danger. Now, goodbye, and don't forget your stepmother."
Then Ingeborg dropped the ball on the ground and bade Sigurd farewell. That same evening the ball stopped rolling at the foot of some high rocks, and on glancing up, Sigurd saw the giantess looking out at the top. "Ah, just what I wanted," she cried out when she saw him. "Here is Prince Sigurd. He shall go into the pot tonight. Come up, my friend, and wrestle with me." With these words she reached out a long boat hook and hauled him up the cliff. At first Sigurd was rather frightened, but he remembered what Ingeborg had said, and gave the giantess her sister's message and the ring. The giantess was delighted and challenged him to wrestle with her. Sigurd was fond of all games, and began to wrestle with joy, but he was no match for the giantess, and she noticed that he was getting faint, and she gave him a horn to drink of, which was very foolish on her part, as it made Sigurd so strong that he soon overthrew her. "You may stay here tonight," she said, and he was glad of the rest. The next morning Sigurd threw down the ball again, and it rolled away for some time until it stopped at the foot of another high rock. Then he looked up and saw another giantess, even bigger and uglier than the first one, who called out to him, "This is just what I wanted. Here is Prince Sigurd. He shall go into the pot tonight. Come up quickly and wrestle with me." And she lost no time hauling him up. The prince gave her his stepmother's message and the second largest ring. The giantess was greatly pleased when she saw the ring, and at once challenged Sigurd to wrestle with her. They struggled for a long time, till at last Sigurd grew faint, so she handed him a horn to drink from, and when he had drunk he became so strong that he threw her down with one hand. On the third morning, Sigurd once more laid down his ball and rolled far away until it stopped under a very high rock indeed, over the top of which the most hideous giantess that ever was seen looked down. When she saw who was there, she cried out, "It is this what I wanted. Here comes Prince Sigurd. Into the pot he goes this very night. Come up here, my friend, and wrestle with me." And she hauled him up just as her sisters had done. Sigurd then gave his stepmother's message and the last and larger ring. The sight of the red gold delighted the giantess, and she challenged Sigurd to a wrestling match. This time the fight was fierce and long, and at length, when Sigurd's strength was failing, the giantess gave him something to drink, and after he had drunk it, he soon brought her to her knees. "You have beaten me," she gasped. "So now listen to me. Not far from here is a lake. Go there, and you'll find a little girl playing with a boat. Try and make friends with her, and give her this little gold ring. You are stronger than ever you were, and I wish you good luck." With these words, they took leave of each other, and Sigurd wandered on till he reached the lake, where he found the little girl playing with her boat, just as he had been told. He went up to her and asked her what her name was. She was called Helga, she answered, and she lived nearby. Sigurd gave her the little gold ring and proposed that they should have a game. The little girl was delighted, for she had no brothers or sisters, and they played together all the rest of the day. When evening came, Sigurd asked leave to go home with her, but Helga first forbade him, as no stranger had ever managed to enter the house without being found by her father, who was a very fierce giant. However, Sigurd persisted, and at length she gave way. But when they came near the door, she held her glove over him, and Sigurd was at once transformed into a bundle of wool. Helga tucked the bundle under her arm and threw it on the bed in her room. Almost at the same moment, her father rushed in and hunted around every corner, crying out, "This place smells of men. What's that you threw on your bed, Helga?"
A bundle of wool."
"Oh, well, perhaps it was that I smelt," said the old man, and troubled himself no more. The following day, Helga went out to play and took a bundle of wool with her under her arm. When she reached the lake, she held her glove over it again, and Sigurd resumed his own shape. They played the whole day, and Sigurd taught Helga all sorts of games that she had never even heard of. As they walked home in the evening, she said,
"We shall be able to play better still tomorrow, for my father will have to go to town, and we can stay at home."
And when they were near the house, Helga again threw a glove over Sigurd, and once more he turned into a bundle of wool, and she carried him in without his being seen. Very early next morning, Helga's father went to town, and as soon as he was well out of the way, the girl held out her glove, and Sigurd was himself again. Then she took him all over the house to amuse him, and opened every room, for her father had given her the keys before he left. But when they came to the last room, Sigurd noticed one key on the bunch which had not been used, and asked which room it belonged to. Helga grew red and did not answer. "I suppose you don't mind me seeing which room it opens?" asked Sigurd. And he spoke. He saw a heavy iron door and begged Helga to unlock it for him. But she told him she dared not do so. At least, if she did open the door, it must only be a very tiny chink, and Sigurd declared that would do quite well. The door was so heavy that it took Helga some time to open it, and Sigurd grew so impatient that he pushed it wide open and walked in. There he saw a splendid horse, already saddled. Just above it ran a richly ornamented sword, on the handle of which was engraved these words, "He who rides this horse and wears this sword will find happiness." At the sight of the horse, Sigurd was so filled with wonder that he was not able to speak, unless he gasped out, "Oh, do let me mount him and ride him around the house.
Just once, I promise not to ask any more. Ride him around the house, cried Helga, growing pale at the mere ride. Ride Gullfaxi. My father would never, never forgive me if I'd let you do that. But what harm can it do? Argued Sigurd. You don't know how careful I will be. I've ridden all sorts of horses at home, and have never fallen off, not once. Oh, Helga, do. Well, perhaps if you come back directly, replied Helga doubtfully. But you must be very quick, or father will find out. But instead of mounting Gullfaxi as she expected, Sigurd stood still. And the sword? He said, looking fondly up to the place where my father is a king, and he's not got any sword so beautiful as that, while the jewels in the scabbard are more splendid than the big ruby in his crown. Has it got a name? Some swords have, you know. It is called Gunnfoder, the battle-plumed, cried Helga, and Gullfaxi means golden mane. I don't suppose if you are to get on the horse at all, it would matter if you take the sword too. And if you take the sword, you'll have to carry the stick and stone and twig as well. They're easily carried, said Sigurd, gazing at her with scorn. That wretched dried-up things. Why would you try to keep them? Father says he would rather lose Gullfaxi than those, replied Helga. For if a man who rides a horse is pursued, he has only to throw the twig behind him and it will turn into a forest so thick that even a bird could hardly fly through. But if there's any happens to know any magic, he can throw it down the forest. And Helena has to strike the stone with a stick, and hailstones as large as pigeon eggs will rain down from the sky and kill everyone for 20 miles around. Having said all this, she allowed Sigurd to ride, just once, around the house, taking the sword and the other things with him. The one he had ridden around, instead of dismounting, suddenly turned the horse's head and galloped away. Soon after this, Helga's father came home and found his daughter in tears. He asked what was the matter, and when he heard all that had happened, he rushed off as fast as he could to pursue Sigurd. Now, as Sigurd happened to look behind him, and he saw the giant coming after him with great strides, and in all haste he threw the twig behind him. Immediately such a thick wood sprang up at once between him and his enemy that the giant was obliged to run home for an axe with which to cut his way through. The next time Sigurd glanced around, the giant was so near that he almost touched Gullfaxi's tail. In an agony of fear, Sigurd quickly turned his saddle and hit the stone with a stick. No sooner had he done that than a terrible hailstorm burst behind him, and the giant was killed on the spot. But had Sigurd struck the stone without turning around, the hail would have driven right into the line and killed him instead. After the giant was dead, Sigurd rode towards his own home, and on the way he suddenly met his stepmother's little dog, running to meet him with tears pouring down his face. He galloped so hard as he could, and arriving, he found 9 men-servants in the act of trying Queen Ingeborg to a post in the courtyard of the palace, where they intended to burn her. Wild with anger, Prince Sigurd sprang from his horse, and sword in hand, killed all the men, then released his stepmother and went in with her to see his father. The king lay in bed sick with sorrow, neither eating nor drinking, for he thought that his son had been killed by the queen. He could hardly believe his eyes with joy when he saw the prince, and Sigurd told him all his adventures. After that, Prince Sigurd rode back to fetch Helga, and had a great feast made which lasted 3 days, and everyone said no bride was ever so beautiful as Helga, and lived happily for many, many years, and everybody loved them.